Hi folks, I hope you can hear me. See, I got a new machine, so I thought I will make a new set of video which I will divide it into three parts. The part 1 will show you how to generally install Spark related tools on Windows environment. The second part is if you choose to use the Scala track of Spark, you will need a build tool, which is Scala build tool, SBT. You will need an IDE to work. IDE is Integrated Developer Environment, which allows you to code things very easily and then pull things together and then demonstrate and so on and so forth. So we can use the Scala IDE for that. And then of course we'll teach you how to create a product and then connect to all the libraries and run this. The third part of the installation is going to teach you how to install Python. Of course, the recent version is 3.8, but for some reason, the Spark version that we are going to use, which is 2.7, is only compatible with 3.6. So we may need to install only the 3.6 version. And for the IDE, we will use PyCharm here. I'll explain the reason for using this PyCharm in the lecture and demo sessions. And of course, the last part of this part 3 is creating a project and then setting up the libraries. So let's get started. So as you can see, the first step is to install JDK and set up the JDK home. So I'm going to use a browser for this. Okay, so you can Google for JDK 8 download. Okay? And of course, you will end up in the developers download page. The only thing is you need to have an account. In my case, I already have one, so I'm going to accept all the cookies. Okay? So when I have to log in, you can see that I have an account which I've used to log in. So I'm getting directly into this page. If you don't have an account, it will ask you to do a sign up where you have to register your email and things like that. Okay? So I'm assuming you can go in and do these things. You will be ending up in this page. And if I want to install a Windows version of JDK, you can see the recent one is 261. So I'm going to take the recent version. My machine is a 64-bit Windows version, so I'm picking this and I'm downloading. And of course, I have to accept the license. Okay? So I'm going to say I've reviewed and accepted it. Please download it. So this is where the moment you get in, you need a sign-in account. Since I already have a sign-in account, I'm going to use that and sign in. Okay? So in your case, you may have to create one if you're doing it for the first time. And of course, you can see that you can save it anywhere. I'm choosing to save this in the download folder. So that's pretty much about the downloading part. So let's wait for this to be done. And then, of course, we will continue with the installation. So the download is over. The next thing that I'm going to do is to install this. So I just double click on the software. As you can see, it's going to allow me to install the Java developer environment. So I'm going to say OK. So just to show you where the download is going and sitting, you can see that it is. And please be careful, you have to download the JDK, Java Development Kit, and not the JRE. JRE is a very minimal software. So I would recommend using the JDK instead. So now that I've downloaded the JDK, the next thing is to go through the installation steps, which is pretty straightforward. However, I'm going to show you the steps. We say next. So it starts recording. So you can see that the default folder where it installs the JDK is Program Files Java JDK version 8 261. So allow this installation to go through. So meanwhile, I'm just checking if I have to install my change my installation instructions. So please bear with me. And okay, so now that the installation has gone through, The next step is to install the GRE. Here also I am going to accept the default, say next. Okay. So not much of a difficulty. So this goes through, and once it completes, it will ask us to close the installation. Okay. So after which we have to look into the path setup. So now that the installation has gone through, our job is to just close the installation. So since that is done, the next thing is to set up the Java home variable. So let me show you how to do that. You open up the browser, you take this PC, you right click and you say properties. So this will get you into the control panel menu, and you click on the advanced system settings, which gets you to the system properties. You click on the environment variable. You can see that there is a path here as well as the path here. If you set up your path on the top user variables, it only works for your login, but I would like this to be set up for the whole machine. So in case there are multiple users, particularly so in classroom settings, so you want this to work on any user login, irrespective of the login username and password. So it's a common practice to set it up here. A very blunt way of doing it is to directly add your paths, but a little bit of Linuxy style of doing it is to create the software starting folder first and then connecting it to path. Of course, you can do either way. The only thing is the second style of doing the full path is called hard coding, and doing it the Linuxy style has got a little bit of advantage. Okay, so let's go through this setup of path. So I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to call this as Java underscore home. Okay. And I need to point to the Java home folder. So I browse the directory, see it is inside program files. It's called Java. And then this is the JDK folder. So I point to that and then say, okay, so this is Java home. Now in the path variable, what I can do is I can add, you can see it already puts the Java path here. I mean, I can use it or I can change it. So in this case, I'm going to just remove it and then use my path. So I'm going to say percentage Java underscore home percentage slash bin. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, please add Java into your path. Okay. So I'm done. Okay. So let's see if this works. So in order to test, I have to open a command prompt here and say Java minus version. So this will tell me whether Java is in and which version is working. So as you can see, it is 1.261. And then you can also see what is the path variable for Java home. You can say echo percentage Java underscore home percentage. Okay. So that will tell you what was the variable that you set in. So this is done. Okay. So let's move on from here into the next set. So in case you wanted to know, let me just copy the folder structure. I'm just keeping it so that you know where these things are being installed. So this is where the Java got installed. The next thing is Scala installation. So let's go to Scala and then start doing the installation. So the next thing that we're going to install is Scala, right? So I'm going to use the same window. I'm going to say download Scala. So that should get me to the latest Scala compiler page. So as you can see, it goes into the Scala download page. Of course, you can download IntelliJ and SBT and all that, but here we just keep it clear. We want to only install Scala 11 because we are going to use that in our coding exercise. So you can see that I'm going to the older release 2.11.12, which is what is compatible with the Spark version that we're going to use. Okay. So we have selected 2.11 and 12, as you can see. If you scroll down the list, you can see that there are many versions. And of course, since I'm installing in the Windows machine, I'm picking the MSI here. So again, I'm going to save this in the downloads folder, and when it comes back, I'm going to be able to install that without a problem, because it's an MSI. It's going to be just a wizard based installation. So let me get that started. So this is Scala. The prerequisite is JDK, which we have already done. So I'm going to accept the license. I have never ever read a license in my life in installing software. I'm not sure about you, but as a developer, I always believed automation and software. Okay. So I'm going to install the default settings, which is program files x86 Scala. That's fine. And I'm going to say install. So this will go through the installation setup with, of course, a safety agreement that goes through on the Windows security. And once this is over, you may have to set up the path of the variable as well. So that's what we have listed here. So once the Scala installation is over, we are going to go through the same step that we did for Java Home here as well. So this will be followed by Hadoop, and then of course followed by Spark, and then shell testing. So let's see if the installation is started. Yes, the installation is started and it's done. So I'm just going to click on the finish. So if I want to see where the installation has happened, I can go to C drive, program 86 Scala, and you see that there is a Scala properly installed here. Okay. So I'm supposed to map this in the path as well. So I'll go to PC as usual, right click and look for system variables here, advanced system settings. I'll be choosing the environment variable. And here again, I have to set up a Scala home. So I'm going to call this as Scala underscore home. I'm going to point to the Scala's root installation directory, which is C program files x86 Scala. Okay. So I won't point to the bin folder yet. I just keep it as Scala home. And in the path variable, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in. So you can see that it is already hard coded. So I'm going to edit this and then say percentage Scala underscore home \bin. You can still keep it as hard coding, no problem at all. I'm just trying to teach you to be the purist. So once you're done with this, you can again now check for Scala installation. Just open any command prompt and say Scala minus version. That allows you to see minus version. Why? Something wrong. So let's check. So C program files Scala and \bin. Okay. So if I start the command prompt here, does it go through Scala? Yes, it does, as you can see. Okay. So something wrong in the path, as you can see, exit of 0 or control C, I guess. Yeah, it's not exit of 0. Exit of 0 is the Python thingy. Okay, so which basically means somewhere down the line the path is not okay. So let's see what is inside echo percentage Scala underscore home. Let's see what's inside there. So that one is Scala. Okay, so then I think there's something wrong in the bin that we have set it up. Okay, so let's verify that. So right click, properties, system properties, environment variable, path, edit, Scala home. Is spelling correct? Scala underscore home. Okay. Yeah, I missed the percentage. You see, that was the problem. Okay. So it's a path variable, so I got to be very careful. So that's the problem. Okay. So now if I open a command prompt anywhere, cmd, I will be able to look at Scala version this time from anywhere. Okay, so that's it. You have successfully installed the step 2, which is Scala. So if you want to know where the Scala is sitting, I'm just going to copy the folder, and you can see that it is residing in Scala. Okay, so that completes the Scala installation. The subsequent one that we are going to work on is going to be the Windows utilization part. Okay, so let's go. For the Winduters, what is interesting is it is not possible for us to install a whole cluster, right? So we're going to do something that is sudo. And what we do is we are going to get the Hadoop Winduter set up. Is done by a guy called Steve. So Steve Logan is basically trying to keep a lot of these Hadoop utilities as Windows-based shell scripts. So that's quite a useful tool. So let's see how to get that. So all you have to do is just look for Winduters for Hadoop Windows. So you will definitely land up in Steve Logan's GitHub. So if you click on that, you can see that he has multiple versions that he wants to support. So select the 271. So this is what the course is going to use. And if you go into the binary folder of it, you can see that there are many files that are quite useful. What we are interested in is this Winduters. Okay? So once you can come into this Winduters, just say download. So that should get you a copy. So you can save it inside your download folders for starters. And what you have to do is you have to move this into your C drive. Okay? So you can see that you have this Winduters in the download folder. Go to the C drive. You create a folder called Winduters. Very simple. C drive folder and call it as Winduters. Okay? And once you have created that, you can create another subfolder because that's the usual Windows style, right? So create another subfolder called bin. Okay? And inside the bin, you got to copy this Winduters. Okay? So I'm just going to copy the file, bring it to Winduters bin, and then paste it here. Okay? So once I'm done, I'm going to go through the same process to set up the environment variables. So I'm going to say environment variable. So this time I'm going to create a variable called Hadoop home. Hadoop underscore home. And I'm just going to point it to C drive and then Winduters folder. Okay? So that's done. And inside the path, as usual, I got to edit it. Come here, say new percentage Hadoop underscore. You can directly put path, guys. It's just that when you're using certain kind of additional tools, you may end up. This is the systematic way, of course. You can always hard code, no trouble with that. Only if you try certain kind of extensions, it's going to give you problem. Okay? So Hadoop utils is done. So the next thing is to download the Spark folder. So just Google for Spark download Windows. So that gets you into the Windows 4. So you got to what did I say? Spark. Okay. The wireless keyboard is funny. Sometimes it misses things. So go to this and you can see that the latest version is 2, and I'm going to pick the 2.4 because that's the one that is pre-built on 2.7. Because we are using Hadoop 2.7, it is wise for us to stick with just 2.4.7, not the 3 release. Then say download Spark. So that will usually get you to a very simple zip file. Okay? And just use this and then say click on that. It downloads the zip file. So it automatically starts the saving soon. If it doesn't, no problem. Just click on the link. Then you can see that it starts downloading. While this is downloading, I would recommend downloading the 7-zip tool as well. Why I'm asking you to use 7-zip tool is because the default compression tool that comes with Windows is not very useful. So I'm going to pick 7-zip. 7-zip is quite friendly with most of the Unix Linux utilities. So that's the reason I prefer it. So in order for that, you will need the MSI. So as usual, you can see that I'm trying to get the latest version 19 and I'm picking up the 64-bit Windows MSI. So this may take a minute or two, but I think it's very safe before unzipping Spark. Okay. So let me run the 7-zip first. So that's the 7-zip license. I accept that. Default is fine. So I'm going to install. So 7-zip installation is done. So this will allow me to go back to the downloads folder. So here I can first copy this folder directory to C drive. Okay, so you can see that I need administrative rights. And once it is copied to the C drive, you can see it's a tar file. So I'm going to use right click. Then since I've installed 7-zip, you can see the 7-zip menu there. So I'm going to say 7-zip is fine, extract files. So it's going to point to the default folder, just accept that, should be fine. And you go inside, you can see that there is another compressed file. So select 7-zip again and extract here. Okay. So the only problem is you can see it has created 2 subfolders, which is not necessary. Okay. So it's inside 2.4, inside 2.6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the temporary tar file, and I'm going to bring all these files to the root folder. So all the files are directly on C, Spark 247 bin, and I can delete the other one. Okay. So it's up to you. You can still have Spark/Spark, no problem. Okay. So this is the last setup that we were required to do, and this involves again setting up of the path. So I'm going to select the PC here, properties, then system variables. I'm going to pick the environment variables here. I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to call this as Spark_home, just like Hadoop home. I'm going to browse the directory PC C Spark folder. Suppose you have 2 subfolders, then you got to pick the innermost subfolder. Since I've removed that one, mine is directly on the root. Okay, so check wherever the bin folder is and select that. Once you have done, you can select the path folder and edit that as well. So the last one that you're going to add is %Spark_home%\bin. So this completes the full spark home. Okay? And then if you want to see if it is created, Spark home. Okay, so everything goes fine, and voila. So let's test if things are working. I'm going to open a command prompt by typing in command. Let me move to the C drive, C // okay. So I should be able to see the Winduters folder. I should be able to see the Spark file as well. Okay, so all seems good. Now what I can do is I can say Spark shell. Okay, so this will start the Scala Spark shell for me. So give it some time for the properties to start, and then you can see that it asks you for a JVM. Just allow that, should not be a problem. So you can see that this is the Spark shell. So if you want to look at the Spark context, just type SC, it prints in the Spark context. You can put any legal Scala statement here, where S is equal to a list of, you can actually put in anything here. Okay, I can simply say one variable name as well. So S is assigned as integer, as you can see. And of course, I have to say Control-C to quit the shell, right, and then come out. So this Scala job is done. The next one is to start the Py shell. So for that, I should say is PySpark. But you can see that Python is not installed. So that's why I'm not able to test the PySpark. So what I'm going to do next is to install Python. So that will complete my Spark testing. Okay. So I'm going to go back, and then of course maybe I'll start a new window here. I'll bring that here. I'm going to say Python for Windows. Okay, so I'm going to download the Python. There are many versions that I can download, so I'm interested in 3.6. So let me pick 3.6 download. Okay, so this is the specific release I'm interested in. So if you come down here, this one is the non-window version. So let me just look for Python 3.6 Windows install. So this is Python releases for Windows. So this is the latest version, but I want a little bit down. I want the 3.6, so I'm coming here. So this is the Python 3.6. So when I click that, again it goes 3.6 doesn't have a Windows version. So I think I'll go for the 3. Let me see. I still need only a 3.6. You should say Windows 10 installer. That's easy for me. Okay, so 2.6 Windows 10 installer. So select that. Windows user. Okay, fine. So yeah, so this is better. You see. So I have a Windows installer. Okay. So I have an executable installer. I have a web-based installer. I'm not choosing this 86. I'm choosing within the 64. I'm going to choose the executable installer, which has got all in one package. So let me download that. And why is this AMD? I would like to have a Windows user. Okay, it says AMD will also work on Intel, so that's okay. So I'm going to double click that. I'm going to say install now. But let me customize the installation. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to directly put it on the C drive. I do not want it to be in the app local because it's very difficult for me to change something. So I'll directly put it on C's Python 3.6. I'll say add to variable, Python to environment variable, install it for all users. And I'll pre-compile the libraries as well. Of course, I don't need the other things, right? So I'm going to say install. There is an acceptance folder. So allow this installation to fully go through. So we have done Winduters, C:\/ Winduters, and of course the Spark also we have completed. So Spark was basically inside C, and the version that we used was this. Okay, so we can put that here. So Spark shell testing was over. The only thing is we wanted Python, so I've moved the Python installation from here to here. So I had to install Python. So I had to look for a proper 3.6 Windows 10 installation. So when I Google for Windows 10, I got an AMD version, and then I got that done. Okay. So you can see that the installation has happened, and then I can close it. Okay. So what I can do is I can close all the other menus. Okay. So I don't need any other command. So let me always start a command fresh. Okay. So that tells you whether your recent path is inside. So when you're setting a path, you have to come and always start a fresh command. So just say Python version and see which Python is working. So I think for Python you should say minus version if I'm not wrong. Okay. So you got 3.6.8 working, which is brilliant. So let's start PySpark shell. So you can see that it starts up this time. So after installing Scala, please make sure that you install Python also, so that you'll be able to. So here there is nothing like val or anything. You can declare anything and then say 6. So please define. You can say f is equal to hello world, and then you can see that it starts using Python compiler. You can say print of f, so that prints value. And again same control C to terminate the job. Unfortunately what happens here is so here you should be saying exit of 0, while I went and said exit of 0 on Scala if you want. So this basically means the basic Spark installation for both Scala as well as Python is over. So this completes my part 1 installation. Okay. So I'm going to move on. So if you want to see where the folder it is installed, it is in C Python 6. So this is where I've installed Python, and there's no rules here. It's just my style of installation. Okay. So I've finished the installation part 1. So I will move on to part 2 and part 3 subsequently.